It had been 2 years since I had my owner. I was turning 30 next month and I was so excited. I miss my family and friends and the time we used to spend together, but only the lucky ones get to stay in a home with their families. I looked across the street and saw Annie spending time outdoors. Annie was new to the neighborhood, but she used to be in the fights. The fights was the worst place one of us could end up at. Usually once placed in the fighting circuit, you don't come out. Our superiors would bet on who would win, and if they didn't, they were killed. In the fights, it was survival of the fittest. I had always been lucky. Ever since the animals took over, I was always placed in a good home. Some of my relatives had a less lucky fate. Since I was young when this happened, I was an ideal pet in the home, but my older family members were placed in the pound and killed after 2 weeks. I wish to see them once more, but that isn't how it works for us. We are the inferior species in this world. Although we weren't always inferior, in fact, we were superior to most species. Let's start where it all began, because I saw it firsthand. My dad was a scientist in the United States and was always trying to genetically modify animals in order to help their species or ours. He worked on pigs, cows, and even lions. Any animal you could think of, he was trying to change them. He never had any problems until he tried to modify dogs. He added genes that would help them move up the food chain and took away genes that made them inferior. My dad loved dogs more than anything, and he would do anything to make them live longer and be able to survive against humanity. Turns out he went too far because now we are treated like dogs. My dad worked on many dogs, and once they bred, the new modified species was created. The modified species overpopulated the earth, wiping out half of the species we used to know, including cats and sheep. The new species has opposable thumbs and can walk on their hind legs. The environment has changed so much from what we used to know. Once humans couldn't make major decisions, there has been changes made to stop global warming, all countries are now peaceful, and there's less pollution. Sometimes it makes me wonder if this was the best solution for everyone, but then I remember how we can be treated. We are placed in pounds if we can't find a home, and if we still have no luck, we are killed. Some of us are put in fighting rings or abused at home. Our owners also breed us to sell our children to other owners who never come back. Our children are taken away and never seen again. The majority of mothers don't even know if their babies survived. I was lucky because all of these things had never happened to me. I was always placed in a good home and have never been beaten or scorned. I have my freedom still, so I can't understand the horror that others of my species go through. I was bred to fight. My name is Annie. I live across the street from Sarah. She seems nice and always seems happy. I don't understand how one of us could have it so amazing and others be treated poorly. The fighting arena was the worst place I had ever encountered. All of us were crammed into small quarters, waiting for our chance out to just realize that once we got out, we had to fight until the death. Many of us died, and I was one of the few lucky ones that survived and was able to get out mostly unharmed. I had only fought a couple times. I never won because I'm too small. Most competitors would kill their opponent, but the few I had allowed me to survive. Some good owners rescued me and a few of my friends. Once we were out in the real world, we were separated and placed in homes. My life is so much better now, but I still miss my friends. I'm afraid to get close to others because then we will just be separated. The home I am treats me nicely. Sometimes I may be kicked or slapped, but other times I'm pet and cuddled. I am only 10, so this is the only life I have ever known. But when I am with my elders, they talk about how we used to be the superior species and all of our freedoms. They talk about how good it used to be. I don't understand what happened and how, but I want to know, and I won't let anything stop me, even if I die in the process. I was bred on a farm. My name is Luke. Where I come from, we were separated at an early age and kept in small cages. Our caretakers could care less about our health or well-being, and many of our litter had died, and our mom was killed soon after because she was too old to breed again. Once we were transported to the store, we sat in small cages as our superiors walked by. Some of us were sold quickly and taken home, but others were not so lucky. I was one of the not so lucky ones. Once I had grown, it was even harder to get adopted. I soon was transported to the pound, where I sat in a cramped cage as I watched our superiors walk by. My mom used to tell me that we were superior to dogs not long ago. She says that a mad scientist had decided humanity's fate, and how I will never know what it is like to be free. I see our new caretaker walk by as I scramble to the gate. He is carrying a leash and pulling out everyone in my row and taking them to the back room, one by one. The caretaker reaches my cage and slips the leash around my neck. As I head to the back room, I see my equals sitting together crying. I head to the table and quickly jump up. I look around and see all the needles and other equipment. Our doctor approaches me with a long needle and sticks it in my leg. At first I feel fine, but I begin to feel dizzy and can feel my heart slowing. I look ahead at the doctor as I become unconscious on the table. I was adopted at a young age. My name is Levi. I had an amazing early life and always was well loved and taken care of. My owners moved out of town and left me behind. I was soon found by the pound control and transported here. I used to be in a cage across from Luke. He had been gone for quite some time, but as I saw a caretaker walk by, I saw him carrying Luke's dead body. I wondered what was wrong with Luke. He was still young, and as far as I knew, he wasn't sick. I stayed in my cage for a solid week. I would run to the gate and greet the dogs that would walk by. One day, I finally was lucky enough to be adopted. I was taken home with a family. They were a family of four. It was a happy home with two parents and two children, one boy and one girl. The children would always play with me, and I was always loved. This was the best life I had ever known. I still don't understand how some of us can be so mistreated and others are so loved and treated kindly. I've seen both sides of the spectrum, but it still feels like there's something missing. I was raised in the human unit for the police station. My name is Ava. We are trained to sniff out drugs and be backups for our handlers. Our handlers always treated us kindly, and we spent every minute together. We wake up at the same time, go for a run, eat, and then work. During our work, we train to be the best and always try to help dogs in need. Just the other day, we saved a dog that was held at gunpoint. We were the best team in the state. We won medals and saved so many lives. We had both begun to age and retire together. We lived together and spent every spare minute together. I became his service human. I helped him up when he fell and helped him get around efficiently. I had heard about the horror stories of how others of my species was treated. I couldn't believe this to be true because I spent my entire life with my handler up until my very last breath. I never knew what it was like before this, but I can't imagine it being any better than it is now. The new society was created immediately after the modified species of dogs was created. Once the modified species took over the world, over a fourth of the human population died. Some of us were lucky and adopted into good homes, but the others were put into pounds or put into the fighting ring. All of us were separated from anyone who was familiar, and very few of us even know if any of our family or friends are left. All of our new generation doesn't know what it was like before. Before the chaos, it was a wonderful life full of happiness and freedom. We ruled the world, but there was aspects to our life that were detrimental to the environment and the other species. Sometimes I think that it is better this way and forget how it used to be, but then I remember the time when we were free and spent time with our family and friends. The society has made humanity inferior to all animals, but in the end, maybe we deserve it all.